Aloha, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to another week of live Q&A here at Trauma Recovery University. I'm your host, Athena Moberg, and with us here, of course, is your incredible co-host, Bobby Parrish. This is a live Twitter chat, and it's also a live YouTube chat, and it's also a recorded video, which you might be listening to on a replay, and or you might be here live. There are so many of you here live tonight, and I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And if you are on a replay, as a courtesy, and just for your convenience, you can go down below to the bottom of this description section and you can fast forward if you want to. But we're going to go ahead and answer people's questions and greet people. This is what we do every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on Trauma Recovery University. Myself, Athena Moberg, and Bobby Parrish show up here and we answer your questions live. If you are an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse or any type of child abuse, you're in the right place. We come here every week, we answer your questions live, and we have hundreds of hours of video on this YouTube channel for you to receive the support you need and the validation you need as an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse. Oftentimes we wonder, why, if I didn't remember things until I was in my 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, are my memories even real? And I have this very vivid memory, and that's very, very common. So every single week we show up here and we do live Q&A on Mondays, and every week we have a different topic. And this week's topic is letting go of fear and embracing peace. Now, this is a big, big topic. It just sounds so almost like fruity and foo-foo, like, oh, sure, let's let go of fear and we're going to embrace peace. And it's just simple. We're just going to wave a magic wand and you're going to feel better. And that's not exactly what we're saying. In fact, that's not what we're saying at all. If you are an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse or any type of child abuse, you were likely raised in an environment or have embraced certain personality traits and certain feelings or instincts of hypervigilance. It's just something that comes along with the territory. When we're violated as a very young child, we begin to learn at a very young age that the world is unsafe. And if we can pay close enough attention, it'll never happen again. And so we become hypervigilant, and that follows us into adulthood. And we don't realize, and on top of all of the shame that we've been piling on ourselves, that we're actually dealing with some hardwiring stuff that's been going on. When you're abused at a very, very young age, we're going to delve deeper into this on our one-page resource. But when you're abused at a very young age for a long period of time, or even on a one-time incident, your brain, your prefrontal cortex soaks itself in a toxic soup of adrenaline and cortisol. And it incurs some damage, and the neurotransmitters do some different things, and the neural pathways do some different things, and your amygdala does some weird stuff because abuse changes the shape of our brain. So we're going to talk more about that and about the traumatic injury that your brain incurs when you're abused, especially if it's over a long period of time, and how we can cope and how we can adopt some new coping strategies and some tools and tactics and techniques that will help us moving forward here in our adult years. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome. We're so happy you're here. And if it's your first time, you're not aware of this, so I will make you aware of this. We, every single week, have a one-page downloadable resource, and it is sort of a breakdown or like a synopsis on one page of everything we're going to talk about tonight, with the exception of other people's questions. Other people's questions could sometime be your question, and your questions will be answered before we go into the one-page content, which we do on a screen share here. So if you would like complimentary access to tonight's downloadable one-page resource and every week's downloadable one-page resource that we've done for 2.5 years or what have you, then you can go ahead and go over to one of our websites, either NoMoreShameProject.com or TraumaRecoveryUniversity.com, and find a tab anywhere that says downloadables. And if you click that tab, then you'll be taken to a place where you can get immediate access to not only tonight's downloadable one-page resource, but to our entire library. And it's just for free. It's just to say thank you for being a loyal listener or viewer or subscriber or just an awesome survivor. And if you liked this video and you're watching it on a replay, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, we would love it if you did. And if you're watching us on Roku TV, we have our own Roku TV channel. We want to say thank you so much for all of the 5-star reviews. We have almost 40 5-star reviews on Roku, and that's just amazing. So thank you so much. If you're listening on a podcast like iTunes or Stitcher or any podcast platform, this is a video. You can find us on Roku or on YouTube by searching for Trauma Recovery University. And we're just so excited that you're here. And I'm going to hand this over to Bobby Parrish, and she'll update us on some things going on in our community, issue a trigger warning, and let you know how you can get immediate access to some crisis support if you happen to be in crisis, depending on the country that you're in. And I'll go ahead and take over the Twitter stream for you, Bobby.
Okay, great. Thank you, Athena. Lots of people here tonight, and lots of people saying this is a topic that they want to hear more about. And I have to tell you, as a survivor myself, and as someone who works with survivors, one of the number one things I hear from them is, I'm tired of living in fear. I don't want to live in fear anymore. But then when I ask them what they do want, if they can tell me what their goal is, what can we work towards, they tell me, I want to feel peace. So that's why tonight we're talking about letting go of fear and embracing peace. But before we go any further, I want to issue a trigger warning. Tonight's broadcast does discuss childhood abuse, and it does discuss, let me check real quick and make sure my phone is off here, sometimes childhood sexual abuse. So if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're here live, or if you're on a recorded podcast or video, I want to let you know that I'm asking you to take special care of yourself while you're listening. You deserve to be able to get information without feeling triggered and overwhelmed. So if you feel overwhelmed, just go ahead and shut the broadcast down and come back to it later. If you're so overwhelmed that you're in crisis or you need help urgently, we ask that you reach out to our friends at RAIN. RAIN is available in the US and Canada. That's the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. And they can be reached at 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E. You can also get a hold of RAIN on their website, rain.org, RAINN.org, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, using their crisis chat feature. If you're in the UK, you can reach out to the Samaritans. The Samaritans are a wonderful crisis intervention service available throughout the UK. They can be reached by phone at 116-123. You can also email them at joe@samaritans.org, or you can text them at 07725 909090. I have them written down on a little sticky here if you're wondering why I keep looking down. If you're in Australia, which is a growing community for us, you can reach out to your national hotline at 131114. So why do so many survivors struggle with feeling fear? Even years or even decades after we are removed from our childhood situation. I think that we hear so many people tell us, just get over it. What's your problem? Why can't you just move on? And I know that sometimes we as survivors even say to ourselves, what's wrong with me? Why can't I move on? Why do I feel this fear on such a consistent basis? And like Athena already said, we're going to tell you exactly why that is. And it's because, first of all, you were raised in fear. A child who grows up in an abusive, chaotic or dysfunctional childhood home has to look out for themselves 24/7. Everything around them is a potential threat, and they never know when the next threat is going to come along. And they never know who's going to get upset, what might set them off, and what might be the consequences. So we grew up protecting ourselves. We grew up in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you feel fear because you have no idea when the next shoe is going to be dropped. You have no idea when the rug's going to be pulled out from underneath you. You have no idea when that abuser is going to show up in your bedroom in the middle of the night. Everything in your life is about protecting yourself. And you grow up with that mindset, right? That the world is a threatening place. That at all times we have to protect ourselves. If you've developed PTSD because of your childhood, you're hypervigilant, meaning that everywhere you go, you assess the situation for threats. Okay, so if you're going into a restaurant, you're looking at every person. Does someone look out of place? Does someone look angry? Does someone look like they might, be ready to jump up and hurt someone else? Where are the waiters and waitresses? What are they doing? Where can I sit? Can I sit with my back to the wall? Can I sit in the corner looking out over the restaurant? It's all about keeping yourself safe. So that's something you learned in your childhood. And then along came the brain damage that happened as a result of, like Athena said, your brain sitting in that toxic soup of cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline from the constant fight or flight chemicals that are thrown into your body. Because again, you're living in fear. And when your brain perceives a threat, it kicks off the fight or flight chemicals. But our brains aren't meant to sit in those chemicals 24/7. They aren't meant to sit in those chemicals that often. And so they become toxic to the brain. And in terms of fear, two things happen. One, the emotional control center of our brain, which is called the amygdala, AMYGDALA, actually enlarges. Okay? So it becomes bigger. Emotions become stronger, more intense for us. We feel them to a depth, to a width and a depth that other people don't. And then the one part of our brain that is actually hardwired to be able to override the amygdala the most effectively is the prefrontal cortex. But what does that toxic soup do that our brain is sat in all through our childhood? It damages the prefrontal cortex. Okay? So now we have a brain that's programmed to feel emotion intensely and at the tiniest bit of threat. And the part of our brain that's supposed to be able to override this and shut it down is damaged. That's how, as adults, we live in so much fear. We've come to live in so much fear. Our childhood taught us to live in fear. Our amygdala sends us messages of fear on a constant basis. And the part of our brain which is supposed to override that isn't functioning well. Okay? But we can fix some of those things. We can learn how to bring peace into our brain. We can learn how to practice feeling peaceful. We can learn how to strengthen the reasoning and the logic that goes on in our prefrontal cortex so it can override the amygdala's responses. We can learn how to sit in the distress. This morning in chat, someone made the comment that it's like living with fire sirens, or down here in the South, I'm attuned to weather sirens. It's like sitting with alarm bells going off in your brain 24/7. And you all wonder why we don't sleep well? This is why survivors don't sleep well, right? We sit there with that siren going off in our head, wailing 24/7 because our brain thinks we're in fear. But we can learn how to sit and hear that siren and not react to it. And the more times that you sit and you don't react to it, the fewer the times the siren will go off. And eventually your brain will realize there's no reason to set that siren off because you're not responding to it. So it stops. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the fear, and then we're going to talk about peace. We're going to talk about how to live in peace, how to build peace, how to create a practice of peace, and how to live with the prominent feeling that you're feeling as peace rather than fear. So, Athena, how is everybody? Do we have any questions tonight before we...
I just didn't want to interrupt you because you were on kind of a really good roll. So I wanted to let you complete your thought. We have a few questions actually, and I want to share them with you. I want to address something that you just mentioned about developing a practice of peace.
Right.
Oftentimes as survivors, we have this fear that there's a lot of fear surrounding grieving. I know this.
Okay.
So I have so many clients, and I know that you probably do as well, that say, I'm afraid to feel those feelings or allow myself to cry because I'm afraid I won't be able to stop.
Right.
So when you were just sharing a moment ago, I was thinking specifically about developing that practice of peace.
Yes.
And how we shouldn't run from the fear because and we shouldn't delete fear. We shouldn't.
Right.
Our goal oftentimes as survivors is to get rid of fear, but
right.
that is not really. That goal is off the mark. That
right.
goal is not the bullseye of the target that we really think it is. We think that if we were to delete fear from our lives, you guys, we think that if we had no fear, you see these bumper stickers everywhere, no fear, and whatever, it's like a t-shirt brand even, and fear not, and we think that if we delete fear from our lives, that will get rid of all the problems, but that is not the problem. Just adding on to what Bobby said, it's not about deleting the fear or running from fear or anything. It's about sitting with it, like Bobby said, and that's called distress tolerance, and it's really, really an integral part of DBT. But a lot of fear surrounds grieving. A lot of fear surrounds, I'm afraid to face my memories. I'm afraid to allow myself to cry. I would rather stay angry because I'm a lot more functional when I'm angry than when I cry. Because when I cry, I just curl up in a ball. And the truth of the matter is that's a lie. That's one of the lies that our abuse tells you. Hey, Harriet, if you could pop up wherever here, the videos, the lies your abuse tells you. And if you could pop up the video on the topic of the grief work associated with childhood abuse. If you could pop up those two videos, Harriet, that would be awesome. But I just love what you said about developing a practice of peace, Bobby, because it is about how we talk, you sort of coined this phrase, and that is to build up our good pile.
Yeah.
Don't try to dispel all the lies and get rid of all the bad. Build up your good pile and build up the truth, because then the lies and the bad stuff, it just goes over here somewhere and you don't even realize it. And like here up in the front is this big old pile of good and the truth about you instead of the lies that your abuse tells you. So I'm so excited to share that with our community, because I think it's a tool for our tool belt that is one that we will likely use every day.
Right. It's not about, and anyone who says, okay, I'm ready to do this, I'm going to get rid of the fear and I'm going to build a practice of peace. Nope. Build a practice of peace. Put your energy and your focus on that. Because like Athena said, as you build your practice of peace, it's like we only have so much. You know what I mean? I'm losing my earbud here. Our brain has this much. And right now, if 70% of it is taken up with fear and only 30% with peace, and frankly, there have been times in my recovery where it was 99% one. So wherever you are, it's okay. Instead of trying to eradicate all the fear, right? Pluck those things out and throw them away. And then guess what? You're left with a vacuum, right? And guess what that means? More fear comes in and fills in those spots. It's a never-ending battle, and it consumes so much of your time and energy. Instead, invest your time and your energy in developing your practice of peace, because one, that's productive, and two, as you build the practice of peace, it will drown out, it will knock out that fear. And eventually you'll go back to, maybe now it's going to be 40%, 60%, and then 50-50, and then, 60-40 the other way around. And all this time, you never had to eradicate the fear. You never spent your time getting rid of something negative. Instead, you spent your time building up something positive. It's the same premise. We've talked before about building your self-esteem. Don't spend your time pulling out all the weeds of things that you think are wrong with yourself. Start planting the flowers of the things that you're good at. And the flowers will eventually take up so much of the space that the weeds get choked out. Okay, so spend your time building the positive things. And then, Athena mentioned the fact that people are so afraid of facing the pain and the grief. Absolutely. I've been there.
It's valid.
It is valid. It's very valid. I've been there. I have clients who are there all the time. But see, if you have worked on building up your practice of peace, then the practice of peace is almost an inoculation. It's almost a vaccination.
I loved it when you said that.
Because as we practice peace, as we build up our practice of peace, it's harder for fear to find a place in our heart, in our soul, in our head, right? So build up that practice of peace. So when it comes time for you to face the grief, you've got tools and skills all over the place. They're going to help you.
Hey, Bobby.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to share, I'm so excited to answer this question, and I want to hear your take on this question as well. And then there are several other questions also.
Okay, let's hit it.
All right, here we go, guys. We're going to do Q&A. So Amanda says, what is a good way to distinguish between fear now as adults and fear that is attached to our abuse? So this is such an excellent question, and I'm so excited. Okay, and Bobby, I want your take on this, because I'm just going to share an analogy that was shared with me by my second counselor, because it really helped me, and I've literally used it probably almost every day of my life, without even knowing it. It's one of those things that you sort of implement, kind of like developing a practice of peace. Like all of a sudden you realize you're doing it. It's a muscle. It's a muscle that you build up. So this muscle, Amanda, that I have built so efficiently that I don't even realize that I'm exerting. It's like breathing. So if I am feeling afraid, or I'm feeling in distress, or I notice that something has caught me sort of off guard, or I'm feeling uneasy, I'll just call it feeling afraid, because I guess if I'm feeling uneasy or any of those things, that it falls under the category of fear.
Right.
So, because it's not peaceful. If I'm feeling very unpeaceful, not peaceful, then, so I immediately, without even know I'm doing it, there's a scale in my brain from 1 to 10. Okay? Between 1 and 5, like if it's like a, that's weird, or something, like I'm, not like I'm terrified, like if I'm just like, that's a little off, all the way up until kind of like, yeah, I don't really think I like that. Like if it's like between a 1 and a 5, that is present day. That is relational. That's something that's happening now. But if I'm feeling uneasy, like between a 6 and a 10, then without even knowing it, I'm doing this. And if it's between a 6 and a 10, I move immediately to the next question, which is, what does this remind me of? This reminds me of something. I'm being alerted right now for a reason, because this is familiar and it's old stuff. Right. And then I identify what it is, and I'm not trying to do this. I'm not going, okay, I'm feeling uneasy. I'm going to go 1 through 5 right now, and then if it's a 6 through a 10, like I'm not stopping to do that. Like I did that at first, but then now
it's automatic.
Right? It's totally automatic. It's like riding a bike. It's like breathing. I don't even realize I'm doing it, but I do it every single day. I gauge everything on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 through 5. I basically just breathe my way through it or reason my way through it automatically. Right. And if it's a 6 through a 10, I assess the situation and ask myself what this reminds me of. What is this familiar? Why is this familiar? What is this familiar to? Like, what is this reminding me of? What did I live through previously that felt like this, that was familiar like this? Why am I feeling the very present and very real and present desire to bolt?
Yeah.
Like I'm frozen in that moment because I'm a freeze fawn. If I'm in a really unhealthy, toxic, abusive situation, I'm a freeze fawn. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, freeze fawn, freeze flee, Pete Walker is an author, and he's written a book called Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. And I highly recommend this book to anyone watching this channel. You need to read this book. Yeah, Pete Walker, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. So if I'm in a situation and it's a 1 to a 5, I breathe my way through it. I reason my way through it. I tell myself that I'm safe. It's 2017. I'm all good. Like I think I'm fine. Like that's odd that I feel uneasy. I wonder what that's about. And it's a puzzle for me. But if it's a 6 through a 10, I'm frozen in that moment, and I'm thinking that I need to bolt. I need to leave. And I need to find out what that is, why it's familiar to me, what it is, what the trigger is, because I'm triggered. It's a post-traumatic response. And I assess the situation and I move on from there. And I make healthy choices. If I need to leave or if I need to address, I need to establish a healthy boundary. If I need to reestablish a healthy boundary, if I need to cut something off and be like, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to handle things this way. I need to step away from this. I'll be back in a little while. Or if I need to just pause and breathe my way through something, I need to figure out what it is and why. That's how I do it, Amanda. And I can't wait for Bobby to share her wisdom on the situation. The exact wording of the question, Bobby, was, what is a good way to distinguish between fear now as adults and fear that is attached to our abuse, which is a long time ago?
Right, right. And it's interesting because I do it very much the way that you do, Athena, except for I look at it as, okay, this has hit me. Do I feel like I'm an adult facing this issue? Or do I feel like I'm a child facing this issue? And if I feel like a child, if the fear feels like fearful child mode, then I know it's attached to my abuse. And I have an example. When I was over in England and we had Christmas dinner and Sarah roasted a chicken. And I can remember we're going to the grocery store, going to buy everything. And I remember asking her, are you going to buy a whole chicken or do parts of the chicken already, taken apart? And she said, I'm going to buy a whole chicken. Okay. Now here's the part where my heart starts to pound and my palms start to get sweaty and my throat dries out. And I say, what are you going to do with the chicken then to serve it? And she says, I'm going to cut it apart. Okay, now it's just abject terror going through my head. Ridiculous, overreacting, whatever you want to phrase it. I don't care. I felt so much fear and terror in that moment, which it doesn't make any sense, right? Sarah loves me. It's not like she's going to try and hurt me with the chicken. It's not like she's going to take the cutting, the kitchen shears and come after me. But somehow that stirs up something very deep. That stirs up something from my childhood. My father was a hunter, and I know it has something to do with that. Okay, so when I feel that deep emotion, like you mentioned, Athena, that 6 to 10, and when I have those feelings and I feel like a small child, that's when I know it has something to do with my abuse. And I think it's interesting because remember, and we didn't say this earlier, so I can't remember. I'm just going to tell you now. The amygdala responds to incoming stimulus, incoming information in 20 milliseconds. 20, that's it. Information comes in and the amygdala is off to the races. Okay? That's where I am standing in the grocery store. Sarah's telling me she's going to cut the chicken apart, and I'm already, like you said, Athena, in my head, I have bolted.
I am out the door.
Right, that's right. She can't catch me at this point. I am so gone. I'm never coming back. The prefrontal cortex of our brain takes the information in, and it takes it 300 milliseconds to respond. Okay? So it's 20 milliseconds versus 300 milliseconds. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but it's enough to allow the amygdala to catch fire and take off. And then here's your logic and reasoning running to catch up, saying, wait, no, it's just a chicken. It's Sarah. It's okay. You can come back. So there you go.
No, I love it because when we were talking earlier, two things. When we were talking earlier during chat, if you're wondering what we're referring to earlier because you're new here, we have 3 Twitter chats a week. The first one is at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and it was developed for our UK audience because right now our UK friends are here because they set their alarm for 2 o'clock in the morning. And so we gave them their own chat at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. So earlier during chat, hashtag CSAQT, Bobby, 2 things. One was you talked about peace being an inoculation, like getting a shot, like getting a vaccination for fear. Like if we have a regular practice of peace, that was such a good visual for me. And then just now, like when you were like, your prefrontal cortex responds, 280 milliseconds after your amygdala. So your prefrontal cortex, 280 seconds later, is chasing after you. But wait, it's Sarah. She loves you.
It's just a chicken.
It's just a chicken. Like, I could just picture, a cartoon in my head going, oh my gosh, that's such a good visual for me to be able to understand, because our amygdala immediately, and you guys, I just don't, Bobby will likely drive this home during our one page, but I don't want you to miss this, okay? And that is the amygdala. You weren't born with a faulty amygdala.
No.
Please, exactly. Please don't miss this, you guys. If you don't receive or understand or remember anything else from this video tonight, please remember this. Your amygdala, when you were born, was likely a normal size. Our amygdala changes shape and swells and does different things because of our abuse. Okay? Our prefrontal cortex was likely in relatively great shape. Our neuronal pathways were doing what they were developed and formed and created to do until your abuse happened. So I would love for you to take any shame that you're carrying in a backpack right now and just take it off and let it fall to the ground and be like, wow, I was born with a completely functioning brain, but wait, my abuse during my childhood while my brain was developing caused my brain to change shape. And if you have a hard time receiving this right now, Harriet, I'm going to send you an image, and I would like for you to put that image right here on this video, and I would like for you to keep this image up here, the thumbnail, on this video for a little while. It's an image, and you guys can have access to this image. You can easily Google the words abused brain, MRI, versus healthy brain. And you will get a very distinct side-by-side picture of what a healthy brain versus an abused brain that's gone through childhood trauma, childhood abuse, what the brain looks like and how different the brain looks. And if you're watching this on a replay, hopefully you'll see this image right here and you'll be able to understand what it is that we're trying to share with you right now. We want you to not only be able to feel better once we share the one page with you and give you some tips and strategy, but we want you to just take that heavy backpack of shame off and throw it to the ground. It doesn't belong to you.
No.
You weren't born, you weren't born wrong.
No.
You haven't done anything wrong. This isn't your fault that your brain is doing these things. It affects your executive functioning. It affects you when you're trying to multitask. Harriet, if you could pop up the thumbnail to the video right here for executive functioning, that would be amazing so people can have access to that. When you're trying to multitask and you're trying to make decisions, you guys, your brain has been affected. And I'm just hoping you receive that. I'm hoping and praying that you can receive that because you deserve to know the truth. It's hard to process all of this. It's really difficult to receive. But I'm hoping and
true. Yes. You need to put that down. And I think it's so hard for us as survivors, especially when we're in the moment of feeling that fear. Mm-hmm. And you have what it seems like 20 people lined up to say, well, aren't you overreacting? You know, what's the matter with you? And then comes more shame because we feel like we've done something wrong.
Unless that person understands and is educated in the topic of complex trauma, Google that. Google complex trauma. Unless they understand complex trauma, then I would love for you to not listen to them shaming you and telling you that you're overreacting.
I have this.
They don't get the opportunity to speak into your life. They didn't earn it. What were you going to say,
right.
Bobby?
I have this image in my head, the way you said it, of you know, little cards like the shape of a business card. When someone says something like that, you pull one out, you give it to them. It says complex trauma. Google it.
Yeah. Google that.
That's right.
What did I say? Oh my gosh, Bobby, when you were traveling, I did something. I did this video. I was answering all these questions and I was like up in people's faces. I'm like, Google that shit. I was just and I get a little bit more vulgar when you're not here. So I'm real sorry, everybody. But it's kind of like a sorry, not sorry, because you guys, abuse sucks and abuse is horrible. And we're not going to tiptoe around it all here and pretend everything's super fine and dandy. If you're on this channel, it's because you were abused by other people. And you've likely been blamed for everything.
Yes.
So we want to take the shame and the blame that's been piled on you and ask you to just leave it at the door and then come back and sit and watch this video and receive the support you deserve, because that's what we would love for you. So
yes.
There are a lot of people talking about, Maggie and several other people are talking about how they scan the room. And I'm also one of those people where I sit with my back to, like, I go to the very back of a coffee shop or I go to the very back of a restaurant. And I scan the room. I know the exits. I know the people. Like, it's just my nature. It's been that way for 40 years. So, but Maggie had a teacher all the way through university. Her teachers would look to her to be able to take a read on the entire room all the way through university.
Wow. Yeah. I think survivors are excellent at taking the emotional temperature of a room within 2 seconds flat.
Yep.
But
I totally agree.
And the worst part about that is that usually we blame ourselves if it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, we think, remember what you shared with me? It was we very first met, it was like 3 years ago. I remember one of the first things you shared with me, you nailed it the way you said it. You're like, I find myself walking into a room, and if something doesn't feel right, I immediately think, what have I done? I must have done something wrong. This room doesn't feel right. And I'm like, yes, I totally agree. I do the same thing. But when we say it out loud, it's like, well, of course we didn't do anything. Like, we're the ones that just walked into the room.
Right. I don't know these people. But,
yeah. But we're convinced that we must have done something to ruin the room. We just walked in. A lot of people are talking about how they're terrified of grieving. Stu has a lot of fear. Sharon says the only time she ever feels really, really safe and at peace is if she's scuba diving. Dawn says she loves the anatomy and physiology lesson. Marianne would like to know, I would love for you to answer this. She tagged you personally in this message, Bobby. Okay. Marianne wants to know, I'm diagnosed with a mood disorder. Would that be because of the enlarged amygdala and damaged prefrontal cortex?
Possibly, but the more likely culprit, Marianne, is that the brain chemistry gets knocked out of whack with abuse. And so our brains don't process the neurochemicals like other people's brains do. So more often than not, depression among survivors is due to two things, okay? One is the abuse beat the heck out of our brain chemistry, and now it's wonky, okay? Very technical term, wonky. Look it up. And two, most people who are abused in their childhood home and their family of origin come from generations of abuse and come from generations of trauma and generations of dysfunction. And with that comes a history of mental illness. So look up above you to your family tree, which is right above your head, and look and see if you can identify a pattern of depression. Because if you have that history of depression and then you have the wonky brain chemistry, it's like a done deal, girlfriend. You know, welcome to depression. And I'm so sorry, but it is a side effect of your abuse, and it is something that you have inherited from your family tree. So, but join the club because I'm there too. Yay!
Yeah. Aw. Well, you're in good company. If you guys are struggling with mood disorders, you're in excellent company. We have a ton of amazing people. Bobby, I just want to address something super quick because it's fear-based, and then I want to move on to some other questions also. But Joey says that she wishes. How did she word this? Joey, I'm about ready to look you right in the eye like I always do. I need you to hear me right now. Joey, this is for you, and this is for a whole bunch of you. I know it is. Joey says, I wish I could just go to the store. And if he is there, I'll be fine. Not break down in the store and feel like a fool. My response to Joey, are you referring to your abuser? Person who sexually abused her? Joey's response, yes, I am. And his wife, whenever his wife sees me, she wants to run up and hug me. Okay, Joey, I love you. Listen, I do not want to encourage you to set a goal that is unrealistic. And so I'm going to very gently and firmly tell you that it is an unrealistic goal to be able to just go to the store where your abuser is and where your abuser's wife is. They want to run up and hug on you and have you be 100% okay. That's not a realistic goal. The healthier and perhaps better choice for you at this moment would be for you to understand that your feelings are valid and that you've done nothing wrong and that you don't need to be able to show up at the store and feel completely fine. Because guess what? that if you were completely fine showing up at the store with someone who sexually abused you and that his wife wants to run up and hug you, I would really be concerned. I would be very concerned if you were fine with that. A healthier boundary would be, I am going to choose to not go to that store because it is never going to be okay for me to show up at a store where my abuser is and have me feel fine. And further, my abuser, the person who sexually abused me as a child, and their wife wants to run up and hug on me, that's probably never going to be okay. And that's okay that I'm not okay with that, because guess what? Being sexually abused and then having my abuser's wife in my life, those are not healthy choices for my mental and emotional well-being. And therefore, I'm going to shop at a different store. And if I need to, I will verbally communicate my healthy boundary to my abuser and to my abuser's wife and let them know that it would be best if they chose not to go near me or not to hang out with me and want to hug on me, because I really don't have any desire to hang out with them. I don't have any desire to hang out with sexual abusers, people who sexually abuse children or their wives and their families. That's a healthier boundary and a healthier choice and a healthier goal. Bobby, do you have any comments on this topic? Because there's a lot of fear attached to going to this store. I'm so afraid I'm going to go to the store and he's going to be there and then his wife's going to want to hug me. That's a natural, valid fear. Bobby, your comments on that, please. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. And if you remember, Joey, in the beginning of the broadcast, Athena talked about, are we going to tell you how to get rid of fear completely? Nope, we're not. What we're going to do is help you learn some skills so that in the midst of the fear, or as they say, as the eye of the storm, or in the storm as it swirls around us, we can sit in the eye of the storm and feel peace. Okay? It's not about getting rid of all the fear, because like Athena said, your fear is valid. Your fear is very valid. Plus, there are times that fear is a good thing. Okay? So we don't want to get rid of all the fear. But what we want is for you to be able to sit in the middle of a situation that would normally knock you to your knees and go, I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm good. I'm taking care of myself. And feel peaceful. So that's where we want you to go, Joey. It's okay to feel afraid, but we want you to feel the fear and still be able to have a feeling of peace. Stronger than the fear.
I love that. Thank you so much, Bobby. Grace Hope says, this is a really, really, really good one. Grace Hope says, I'm afraid to hate my abusers and I don't know why. Oh, girl, this is such a good one. The reason that we are afraid to hate our abusers, actually there's many reasons why we're afraid to hate our abusers. I happen to have the luxury of knowing a little bit more of the background of Grace Hope's abuse history, but one of the main reasons why, Grace, why you are afraid to hate your abuser, for you personally, it's two reasons. One is it's part of your grooming. You were groomed to comply and to love and to obey and to fawn and to talk your way through things and to perform and to be on a treadmill of good works and good words and good behavior. And if I'm good enough, maybe she'll love me, maybe she'll like me, maybe she'll stop abusing me if I'm good enough, if I'm good enough, if I'm good enough. That's reason number one. And Harriet, if you could please pop up. And the second reason, Grace Hope, is religious abuse. You were taught that we are never to hate, ever, that we're always to forgive. And those two words are thrown around, okay? God himself hates sin and he hates abuse. God hates. And so if we are to model ourselves after God and people are saying that we're not allowed to hate, that's religious abuse. They're twisting and they're gaslighting you. Harriet, oh my gosh, Harriet. So I need you to pop up grooming here. I need you to pop up gaslighting here, and then somewhere else on this page or in a couple minutes, I need you to pop up religious abuse. There's a lot going on here, you guys. A lot going on. Bobby, your comments on that?
It is interesting how this all ties together.
Yep.
Okay. And
all of it.
This is one of those all-encompassing issues that can pull in so many surrounding things. Okay? So it might feel overwhelming to you right now as you're listening and you're going, oh, I haven't seen that video. No, didn't see that video. Oh, wait, stop. It's okay. Take your time.
They're all there.
The videos.
They're not leaving.
Exactly. They're not leaving.
You have easy access. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. You know, you can go back and watch them and catch up on them. This is definitely one of those topics. Like I said earlier, the number one thing that I hear from the people I work with that they don't want in their lives anymore is I don't want to feel afraid. I don't want to feel afraid. 24 freaking hours a day, I don't want to feel afraid. And then the number one thing they tell me that they want is peace. So this is a huge, 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 huge issue. It's not a simple issue. Obviously, it's really complex. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, if you're feeling a little panicked by us saying, okay, and then this, and then this, and then look at this.
I didn't mean to make you
Don't worry.
So
Oh, no. I don't want to.
I'm sorry.
I'm not telling you did anything wrong, sweetie. I just want to say if there's someone out there that feels overwhelmed, don't feel overwhelmed.
Abuse is overwhelming, and recovery is overwhelming, and all of this is overwhelming. But like Bobby said, the good news is all those videos are there and they're not going anywhere. We have hundreds of hours of videos for you. And I wasn't trying to overwhelm anybody. I just want you to know there's so much out there, you guys. There's so much help.
There is. And it's all possible. It's all learnable. It's all practicable.
Yes.
And you have, you know, if you're sitting and watching right now live and you're going through the Twitter stream, there are many, 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 many people here who are practicing, who are working on this, who are making recovery a priority in their life. So if you want to hang with people who are going to support and encourage you, oh my gosh, jump on Twitter for the hashtag No More Shame, and you will see them. They are here, and they will help you. So join in with them, either, you know, on our videos that are live or just, you know, throughout the week on Twitter. Look for the hashtag No More Shame. They're there. I promise.
Oh my goodness, Bobby.
Huh?
Oh, Amanda, you're so welcome. Sidra loves the explanations that we gave. Sharon says, due to fear, I have a 90-pound pit bull and a loaded gun that I sleep with on my pillow to feel safe.
Yep. It's another one of the reasons why I often suggest to survivors that they get a dog or a pet. I think it helps feeling safer.
It does. Because our pets have our back. Our pets smell, sense, feel, and notice things that we sometimes don't. You're not alone, Sharon. Oh my goodness. Oh, Amanda says the abject terror that you mentioned rings a bell as a clue. That was awesome. Jack, honey, you're not missing a graphic. Everybody's referring to the scale that I mentioned, 1 to 5, 6 to 10, scale of 1 to 10. It's not a physical picture of a scale. Simi says, I've tried to fight my fears all my life. Is there a way to do that? Is there a way to fight fear that works? I think what Bobby and I are both saying is fighting fear isn't necessarily, even though it's a good goal, it's a little off the mark. It's not the bullseye of the target for the goal. The goal is to build up your pile of peace, build up a practice of peace, and not try to delete or fight your fears. Bobby?
Yes, exactly. We want you to spend your energy, Simi and everyone else, on building up the good things. So rather than trying to eradicate the fear from your life, start building up the practice of peace, and it will choke out the fear. And the fear won't be there at all in the percentages and in the strength that is usually in your life. That's the best way. The best way to get rid of fear is to learn how to bring peace into your life and bring it.
Yeah, bring it. Alex, I forgot to tell you that Alex said that your makeup is on point and that green is your color because you're looking super beautiful tonight.
Oh, thank you.
So I forgot to tell you that, and I told her I completely agree. But Alex says, I feel like I process fear very foggy, like I can be up for illicit crazy activity, or I fear leaving the house for 5 days. Ugh. Like, if I'm understanding Alex's question correctly, Alex, please let me know if I'm getting this right. The pendulum swings really far in both directions. Like, what's up with me? Like, I thought that I was fine with fear because here I am, like, wanting to go skydiving and go on roller coasters and do super fun, crazy, fearful things, and I'm great. But then here I am stuck in my house for 5 days and I'm afraid to leave my house. What's the deal? Like, which is it? And if I'm understanding, if that is what you meant, Alex, it's natural for us as survivors to go from one extreme to the next. It's in that moderation. It's in the scary middle, as Bobby calls it, where all of the peace and the healing and the awesomeness happens, because we have adrenaline activities in moderation and we have peace in moderation, and it's not never leaving the house, complete silence, going into isolation and not having any human contact, and then it's not skydiving either. It's in the middle where we have moderation. Bobby, your comments on that? I thought that was a really good question.
Yeah. I agree. It's in that we grew up in extremes. As survivors, that's just the way our life was. And so we have to learn how to go from always being either at one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum, like Athena said, in the middle. And it's hard. It's really hard initially because the middle is scary because we never lived there before. We know the extremes. We may not like them, but we know how to survive in the extremes. We never learned how to live in the middle, in the scary middle. So that will really test your skills at practicing peace. Because when you get in the middle, you feel the fear, the sirens are going off inside your head, they are wailing like crazy, and you're sitting there going, it's okay, I'm all right, I'm safe, nothing has happened to me, I'm going to be fine. And let that prefrontal cortex get a chance to override your amygdala and get those sirens to shut down. So, but it's hard. The sirens are scary. As long as I've lived in the South, they still frighten me.
Oh my gosh, we have tsunami sirens here, and we have tsunami warnings. Yeah. Tsunami warnings that happen on the like a test that happens on the first of every single month at 12 noon. And they've happened. I've lived here for almost 11 years, and for some reason, I still am startled by them. Like, I'm like, and I shame myself for a second almost. Like, yeah, I've lived here 11 years. Why is it still like getting to me? But it's that whole instantly I go, is this a 1 through a 5? Or is this a 6 through a 10? It's about a 6 or a 7. I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Like when I was a kid, right? You know, I mean, there was a lot of police activity.
Yes.
There just was.
Right.
And there were weapons and blood and abuse and punching and kicking and crazy stuff going on, you guys. Like, because that's what happens when people are drinking and on drugs. So that's what happens when abusers are drinking and on drugs, at least. And so if I hear a siren, like I automatically am thrown back to that. I'm a child, like Bobby said. Am I an adult handling a situation, or am I a child in this moment? Which I think I might start doing instead of my 6 through 10. Like, I love just the, am I an adult or a child? Like, it's A or B. It's so much more simple than the 1 to 5 and the 6 to 10. But for some reason, that's always like I automatically implemented that. But you know, I am a child in those moments when I hear that siren on the first of every month at 12 noon. Like, I even try to remind myself, like, hey, the siren's going to go off. And then I always forget, and then I get, like, freaked out, and then I shame myself for a second.
There goes your amygdala down the road, right?
Right? But wait, it's only a tsunami warning. Hold on. You can run off.
I got it. Ours are every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Okay? every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. I have lived here in Dallas for almost 12 years now. Okay. 12 years of every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, the sirens go off. But 9 times out of 10, my amygdala takes off running down the road faster than my mind can go. It's okay. It's just a test. It's not a real siren. It's just a test. But it's okay. Obviously, I still have things that I need to work on. But probably right now, my main priority is not going to be working on my amygdala and the tornado sirens. But just
Chelsea,
an example.
No, I love your example. Are you kidding me? Chelsea, with She's Got Away with Words. With welcome back, Chelsea. We love you. We're so excited to welcome you into our safe groups as well. Chelsea says something really, really great. When I'm triggered, I say out loud, my amygdala has been hijacked. Hard to take back control.
Yes.
That's awesome that you have that knowledge, Chelsea. That's amazing. That's like so helpful.
I like that. Hijacked. I love that word.
Yep. He says, I've had many chicken episodes, Bobby. My mind takes off and I panic and eventually I fly away. My therapist said that I dissociate. Sad face. Oh, JG, honey, we dissociated when we were kids to stay alive. Our dissociation was our bestie. It helped us stay alive. It was like a stuffed animal, like a stuffy for us, dissociation. Like when I was a child and when you were a child and anyone watching this channel, when you were abused as a child, chances are you dissociated so that you didn't die. Because in that moment, you literally think you're going to die because abuse is so scary, especially if you're really, really, really young. One of my favorite ways to dissociate when I was a kid was to bite my nails because it takes every ounce of focus that you could possibly have to bite your nails and to do it properly so that it doesn't hurt and so that you don't make yourself bleed, because it's never the goal to make yourself bleed. So I would literally bite my nails and dissociate, and I would just go to another place, fly away, like Bobby's book, Fly Away Girl. You guys, dissociation saved our lives. So
yes, it did.
It might not serve us very well now, and it's a process, y'all. Patience. I know I said earlier, if you don't take anything away from this broadcast, take this, but I want to add this, and that's patience. Developing and implementing a practice of peace and having more peace in your lives and feeling more peaceful. You can't wave a wand and have it be one and done. It takes time. It's going to take patience for your body to want to have a new practice and exercise a new muscle, to develop this new muscle of peace and to have this new practice of peace. So please be kind to yourself and be patient with yourselves. Oh, Dominique, you're right on time, girl. She says, hey, Bobby Parrish has an awesome new shirt. Everybody's noticing your new green shirt. I agree that green is your color. Hello. Oh, and Lucy Grace Faith is crying. And Lucy, we love you. Please practice self-care. Destiny says the chicken made her laugh. It's hard to cry. The chicken story made everybody laugh. It's awesome. Dawn says, I spoke to the neurologist at work about this very thing, the PTSD brain. Very interesting. I totally agree, Dawn. Hey, Bobby, did you find any other questions that you wanted to answer right now?
I was answering one of Simi's right now. She was saying, so basically I need to make space. In my fear, I need to make space for peace. And so I was saying, yes, it's like planting a garden. Okay, and you gotta make a space, plant the peace, make a place, plant the peace, make a space, plant the peace, and eventually peace will become more prominent. It'll override some of the fear. All the fear is never going to go away, and that's not our goal.
The weeds,
some of it's justifiable, right?
The weeds will always come, but eventually your garden will grow beautifully and have big, beautiful things and flowers and fruits and stuff in it. But the weeds are always going to come. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And, some of them it's appropriate to feel fear. if like we talked about with Joey earlier and seeing her abuser in the store, that's appropriate fear. Or if you're, walking through a dark parking garage at 10 o'clock at night to get to your car and you hear a strange noise behind you, fear is an appropriate response. So we're not trying to get rid of all the fear. We're just trying to make peace stronger than the fear. So more peace, stronger peace, and then have that be the overriding emotion rather than fear. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Shall we go to the one page?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Alex said, just one more thing. Alex said, so many times I'm afraid of the dark, and hello, I was abused at night. It is so difficult to have other adults take you seriously. But again, like we were saying earlier, Bobby, to Joey and to other people, unless these adults that are not taking you seriously because of your fears, unless they have an awareness and intimate knowledge of complex trauma, they don't get to speak into your life and judge you. They didn't earn the right. And it's just going to be a matter of time, Alex, before you build up distress tolerance and you're able to sit with that fear, and that your peace will wash over you in time. So at first, there might be just as many weeds as there are flowers. Mm-hmm. Like your fear and your peace might be like right around the same size because they're little babies, and the little babies, you're like, is this fear or is this peace? They look so similar. They're both green and they're growing out of the dirt. And like eventually when it gets just a little bit more, you're going to notice which is the flower and which is the weed, and you're going to pluck. And your flowers are going to grow bigger. The weeds are going to, they're always going to be there, but your peace is going to grow and become strong and hardy, and it'll be your go-to. I think so often, Alex, please don't miss this. We as survivors feel something in the present, and immediately our minds go to, because it's our subconscious, and our subconscious wins 100 times out of 100. Our subconscious rings an alarm and says, this is not a sustainable place to be. If we're like this forever, we will die. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just not a sustainable place for you. It's not a sustainable state for you to be in. Your static state in a place of fear is just not sustainable. You won't survive if that's where you stay. But I want you to know, Alex, you're not going to be afraid of the dark forever. Like, you might feel more at peace in the dark down the road a ways after you build up more of a distress tolerance and you're able to sit with it a little bit. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to want to just test yourself and be like, okay, let's see if I'm afraid of the dark, but over time, less and less and less over time. Like, you might even come to a place where you're like, wow, I haven't been afraid of the dark in a while. Like, it's been a while. That's interesting. I didn't even think about it. Whoa. And you're going to come to that place. It's not going to happen overnight, but you're also not going to be afraid of the dark forever. You're not going to feel as afraid as you are right now forever. It's like, everything is a season, and it ebbs and it flows. So I agree with you that it's a good opportunity to go to the one page, Bobby, but did you want to say anything or tag on that regarding being afraid of the dark?
I do. Well, not about being afraid of the dark, but you mentioned this a couple times tonight, Athena. So I want to give the backstory to it. You've said, unless you're familiar with complex trauma, I don't want your opinion. Okay? Yeah. And that comes from, and I would encourage all of you to jump over to YouTube and actually watch it. Brene Brown, I'm sorry, fangirl, love Brene Brown, talk at the 99% conference. I wish I could remember the year. But, and she talks about how she's in the middle of like you're in an arena, and in my head, it's like gladiator kind of stuff, She's in the arena. She's in the middle of the arena. She's fighting shame, and she's fighting to make shame understandable for the people around her, for the people who are watching. She said, if there's someone in the audience who is heckling you, judging you, giving their opinion, she said, I don't take opinions from people who are sitting in the audience. If you're going to come down here and you're going to get in this arena and you're going to fight with me for what's right and what's needed, I will happily take your opinion. But if you're not down here, I'm not listening to you. Your opinion means nothing to me. And that is exactly what Athena and I are trying to convey. If someone is giving you their opinion, but they have never been in this fight, they have never been in this battle, they have never been in this arena, their opinion has no value. I understand when it comes from someone that you love or someone whose love and approval you want, that's a hard thing to actually put into place. But I would encourage you to hop over to YouTube, if you're not already there watching us live, and do a search for that Brene Brown. I wish I could remember exactly what. Someone famous too talked about the story, and she just changed it to fit the circumstances. But just do Brene Brown in the arena, and I'm pretty sure it will pop up for you. But that's exactly what Athena and I mean. And it's exactly what Athena and I mean when we talk about how we want helping professionals to be trauma survivors. Because it's really hard when you have not experienced trauma in your life to know exactly what a trauma survivor goes through. So that's my personal soapbox. And I'm not going to get on it right now. But I think it's really important. If you are looking for a therapist, if you are looking for a helping professional right now, look for someone who has experienced trauma themselves. And I guarantee that all other things made even, they will be more helpful for you. So that's all.
I love it.
Okay, so, oh, bless your heart. Look at you, Maggie. I love you. Maggie found it. She found the video and she put it up. So Brene Brown, why your critics aren't the ones who count.
Yeah, high five.
That's it. That's the ones. If they're sitting in the arena, their opinions don't count. They don't get a vote. If they're in battling with you, you'll listen.
I'm so sorry. Dominique was shaming herself for being late, and Jack was saying, it's okay, you're here with us, you're live. And Dominique said, would you stop being mellow and forgiving me so I can shame myself properly?
That's right.
Hashtag no more shame. Sorry. It's so great. Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'm looking at the time.
I know.
Go over to the one page. This is just like we talked about a little bit ago. This is an all-encompassing topic. It touches on so many different things.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Sidra has a really, really, really good question. Oh, you already answered her. Yes,
yeah.
That is an emotional flashback. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. You're on it.
You're welcome. Okay. So we are now looking at the one page, which, if you don't know, this is available on our website, nomoreshameproject.com. Tab up at the top, this is downloadables, and it will be there. The most recent ones are first, and all the other ones follow. Print them out, photocopy them, laminate them, make paper airplanes out of them, whatever helps you the most. Okay, so letting go of fear and embracing peace. Children living in an abusive, dysfunctional, and chaotic home learn very early their world is not a safe place. They become adept at monitoring all things around them for the next potential threat to their emotional and physical safety. They learn how to assess not just behavior, but attitude. They listen to words just as closely as they pick up on the tone of voice of those spoken words. They watch for patterns and telltale signs of impending danger, all in an effort to keep themselves one step ahead of harm. In summary, they live in fear 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This fear is not just a subtle, humming fear, but a roaring, all-consuming fear. Contributing to the overwhelming nature of this fear is the damage done by abuse to a part of our brain called the amygdala. Our amygdala is the part of the brain which regulates emotion. Pervasive childhood trauma causes this brain structure to enlarge, making feelings not only more prominent, but more intense. Fear on a grand scale becomes the regular companion of survivors during their childhood and into adulthood. Living in fear is expensive, both emotionally and physically. It is exhausting to feel as though one's very existence is in jeopardy at any moment, to have to constantly scan one's environment for the inevitable next threat. This constant fear leaves no room for peace in a survivor's life. Consumed by fear, peace seems impossible. And yet peace is the number one thing survivors state they want in their lives. So we haven't talked much yet about how you practice peace, and so this is what we're going to talk about that a little bit here. So to build peace in your life, follow these tips and strategies. Start by building up peace rather than tearing down your fear. Fear will decrease on its own when your sense of peace increases. Peace dissipates fear. This may sound like a no-brainer, but please don't miss this simple yet powerful tip. Develop daily relaxation, meditation, and mindfulness practices. These help to create peacefulness. Practice diligently every day. Over time, your mind will slip into a state of peacefulness easier and more quickly when you begin your practice. And eventually, your mind will be able to fall into this peaceful mode outside of your practice times. And I just want to pause right here and talk about some research that I did about meditation shawls. Okay, so a meditation shawl is something typically used, not very often used within the Western traditions, but it's literally a long rectangular piece of fabric. Okay, and people will put it on over their shoulders, hold it together in the front of themselves, and they will wear this when they're meditating, praying, talking to the universe, or whatever their particular practice might be. If one regularly uses a meditation shawl, that meditation shawl can become a symbol or a cue to the brain to get into a meditative state. I hope that makes sense. So
it does make sense.
Yes. So just the act of your brain, your eyes seeing the shawl is a cue to your brain to drop and go into a peaceful state. Doesn't happen automatically. Takes practice, takes diligent daily practice, but that's what you're aiming for. Okay? You're aiming for that to become automatic so that you can do that at any time in any place. You want to be able to, as we talked about, create an eye in the middle of the storm that you can sit down and go, I know I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm safe. And instead of being consumed by fear, you can feel at peace. Use the logic and reasoning capacity of your prefrontal cortex to deactivate or de-escalate your fear. Fact, our amygdala processes a threat in only 200 milliseconds. I think that's 20 there. That's my fault. It's a typo there. Milliseconds, while our prefrontal cortex, no, not your fault. I think I put 20. I think I did that, so no worries. While our prefrontal cortex takes 300 milliseconds to assess the same threat. This helps us understand how our brain works. Please don't beat yourself up if your amygdala had your fear kicked into high gear before you realize there's no true threat. Become skilled at grounding yourself to regain control of your thoughts. Do not make fear your enemy. Fear has a place in your life in protecting you from real threats. You don't need to eradicate fear from your life. You just need to keep fear from misfiring based on childhood lessons and subsequent trauma. Use exercise to de-escalate the fight or flight hormones which shoot through your body when your fear inappropriately triggers their release. I read this earlier today in some research, and I thought it was amazing because I had never made this connection in my brain before. But when your brain sends that cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline out into your body, the purpose of it is to make you able to flee better and fight better. So the way that you expend those chemicals and get them out of your system can be exercise, because that's exactly what those chemicals were meant to support. So if you have the capacity to do so, use exercise to burn those hormones up and out of your body. Use self-talk to de-escalate your fear, okay? So instead of telling yourself things which escalate your fear, such as, oh my gosh, I'm in big trouble now, or this is terrible, I'm not going to survive this. Instead, try talking to yourself in a calm way. It's okay to say, I feel frightened, but I know I can keep myself safe. I know I'm okay. I feel frightened, but I know I can do A, B, or C to help myself feel better. Join in safe community with other survivors on a regular basis to receive the support and encouragement you need during your recovery. Sometimes we can feel fearful, overwhelmed, and far from peaceful until we come into contact with another survivor in a group. Then all of a sudden we feel a small sense of peace. The gift of community is powerful. There is strength in numbers. Being in community with others who have lived your pain will help you to feel stronger, less alone, and less ashamed. We have free, organized, virtual, safe support communities where you can practice new skills and become adept at creating healthy habits. Ask us about getting plugged in, or click on that link. If you are suicidal or in crisis, always contact a qualified professional crisis helpline, 911, or your local law enforcement. Our groups are not set up for crisis management, as they are peer-led and free of charge. There we go.
Amanda, thank you so much, Bobby. Amanda just said something really awesome about 15 minutes ago. I'm still trying to catch up with everything. She said, I think we gain peace as we learn to have healthy relationships also. We learn that we can say we don't like something, and we learn that we have the right to be happy and to be around others who are also. We don't have to partake in the crazy. That is so well said. There are several of you tonight asking on the Twitter stream and possibly over in the YouTube chat. I'm not 100% sure, but you're asking why we are afraid to feel joy and why we are afraid for things to go good. and why we're afraid of those things. And the answer is very, very, very simple. And when we were little, and if we were in an abusive home, it's simple. If you were raised in an abusive home, I can answer because I have experience in that area. But if that's not you, then I don't have the answer. Maybe Bobby does. But when we're in an abusive home, the abuse cycle repeats itself. It is very much the abuse cycle is the abuse cycle is the abuse cycle. It doesn't divert. It just is the abuse cycle. Harriet, if you could pop up the video somewhere here that talking about the abuse cycle. So silence or calm or good is a precursor to violence. So the abuse cycle is the abuse happens up here at 12 o'clock. If you're looking at a clock, 12 o'clock up here, the abuse happens. At 3 o'clock, things calm down a little bit and there's a honeymoon phase. Okay, from 3 o'clock all the way down to like 6 o'clock, all of a sudden at 6 o'clock, the honeymoon phase starts to end and silence sets in. And then there's this silence or calm or peace. After the honeymoon phase and the good things were happening, there's a calm and there's a peace. And then sure enough, right as the clock strikes 12, boom, abuse happens again. It's a cycle, it's a cycle, it's a cycle, it's a cycle. So we're afraid to feel good. We're afraid to feel joy. We're afraid to feel peace because where 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock are on the abuse cycle, we know that right at 12 o'clock, right at 12 o'clock, as soon as the clock strikes 12, abuse is going to happen again. So subconsciously, peace and calm and quiet and even joy are terrifying for us because we know what's coming next. Bobby, your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I think also too, it's part of we don't know it. We don't know joy and peace and everything going well. And so our unfamiliarity breeds fear. And we're like, okay, I don't know how to feel joyful. Maybe I won't be good at it. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe I won't do it good enough. And we can become fearful of things that we're unfamiliar with. You know, it's not that we don't want them. It's not that we don't want to seek them. It's that we're fearful of feeling them and we don't know if we can feel them the right way. So sometimes we have to jump into those places little bit by little bit by little bit. Or we have to jump into them in the company of other survivors who can reassure us, it's okay. You're entitled to feel some joy about A, B, C, or D. And you'll be fine. It'll be good. It kind of rings up with the beast we know is better than the beast we don't know. You know, like you said, Athena, joy is always the precursor to abuse.
Yep.
So maybe joy is that beast that we don't really know, but the abuse is a beast we know. So we're familiar with it. We don't like it, but we're familiar with it. We know how to deal with it. And so sometimes we stick with the beast we know rather than what we think is a beast that we don't know. So that's the best way I know to interpret it. Let's see.
Sorry. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, should we move on to wrapping things up?
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's good that we move on. Jack, honey, I don't have a picture of a scale of 1 to 10. I could draw on a piece of paper right now, a 1 on this side of the paper and a 10 on this side of the paper and draw a line. I don't have an image for you. I'm sorry. I just meant a scale of 1 to 10, like on a scale of 1 to 10. I just used it metaphorically speaking. I'm so sorry that I don't have an image for you. Someone can draw a picture if they want, or find something on Google. Just type in 1-10 and look at images and then put that up there if you want. That's totally fine, but I don't have it. You guys, this was really, good night, Sarah. This has been really a good conversation. You guys, I'm really seeing a possible like 2-hour special or like a virtual summit of some sort going on. This was probably the most active and most interactive live Q&A that we've had in a really long time since accepting the reality of your abuse, which was a 2-hour special. So if you're on a replay and if you're here live, come back when the replay is up in 24 to 48 hours. You guys leave a comment below this video if this is something that you want more information on. If you want to learn more or talk more or discuss more or have more content on the topic of learning to move from fear to peace, or letting go of fear and embracing peace. If you would just leave a comment below, that would be really helpful for us. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel and you are an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse or any type of child abuse, we would love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Normally we have very fancy screen shares that would tell you all the ways that you could contact us, but we are already over time right now, and we want to honor your time. We value you and we value your time. So, Bobby, did you have anything you wanted to say to everybody before we say goodbye for the night?
No, just to let you guys know that it might feel overwhelming, but peace is a skill you can learn. Creating peace is a skill you can learn. It's not something that's intangible, and well, it is intangible. That's true.
It is intangible, but it's not. It's not
impossible.
It's not unattainable.
There you go. Exact word. Exact word. So, like any practice, it's something that you have to spend some time in and you have to invest in it. But I promise you that you will get what you invested back at least fourfold. So, I hope that you'll make a choice to work on cultivating peace in your life so that you can get that fear out and the peace in.
I love that. Thanks so much, Bobby. You guys, just tagging on what Bobby said, it is a choice. We have a choice. So much of our childhood years were spent. We were at that place during our childhood where we didn't have choices. We didn't have the power to say no more. You're not allowed to abuse us anymore. You're not allowed to hurt me anymore. I'm gonna be safe right now. We didn't have the power of choice, but we have choice now as an adult. So like Bobby said, we hope that you'll choose to embrace this possibility of letting go of fear and embracing peace. And until next week, I'm Athena Moberg, and this is Bobby Parrish. And we love bringing you everything you need for healthy, informed trauma recovery. We'll see you next week on the topic of radical acceptance and everything that entails. You can Google it ahead of time if you want to. But we really are grateful for you guys. Thanks for letting us know that you're receiving the resources and that they're helpful. And we'll see you next week. Aloha.